All right, this video is for all the people who are trying to decide what classes to take and whether or not to buy the video pass for Wild Wonder. I'm going to try to quickly go through all of my notes about each of the class and kind of give you my suggestion on who I think that class would be good for. So right off, starting from the beginning, there are going to be, I think you can go see these conversations. So I'll briefly describe those. The very first welcoming conversation between John Muir Laws and Tony Foster is interesting, especially if you're interested in Tony Foster's work. They get into some deep stuff, and I think my favorite part was when Tony Foster described his feeling of joy standing naked in a stream in Borneo with fish biting his mosquito scars. Other than that, you might want to skip that one unless you're really interested in the conversations. And then the very first class was Ivea's class on nature journaling stewardship. So this class is very interesting if you want to learn about applied nature journaling. And I think this is so important. And it's possible that none of the previous conferences have even had any applied topics. So that being said, if all you want to do is make drawings and stuff, this might not be the class for you. In this class, Ivea talks about how nature journaling can take us a step beyond just connecting with nature and actually taking care of nature. So she spent a lot of time, and I actually think she's probably the most advanced person in the entire world that's combining these two things. So stay tuned to that because that could grow in the future. She also talks a lot about something, this was really powerful and not expected for me, but she said, the more stewardship I do, the less helpless I feel. So if you're the kind of person that sometimes feels really depressed when you learn about what's going on in the world, I highly recommend watching this with Ivea because it's inspiring and is going to give you some tips for how you can feel less helpless in the face of the ecological collapse and all this other stuff that's going on in the world. So after that one, the next one is a little bit more on the artsy side. And Robin Lee Carlson is a hardcore nature journaler who has tracked, I should have a sketch of her somewhere, but she has tracked fire ecology in places in California. So she's doing some really applied nature journaling, but in this workshop, it's all about shadows. I learned a lot because I realized that I'm not very good at shadows and I don't pay attention to them very much. I highly recommend taking the class if you're interested in the artistic part. Here you can see, she also talks about the information that shadows give you. Here you can see some of the sketches I did. So in this class, this is the type of class where you're going to get a lot of hands-on work. So make sure you have the materials and don't ask her what type of watercolor pigments she's using because several people did during the live class, and that wasn't, she wanted people to develop their own mixing and stuff like that. So that is a really good class if you want to get some drawing in and learn a technique that's really important and often forgotten with shadows. Next class was Melinda Nakagawa. This is another really good class if you want to actually get some pencil miles in and do some drawing. She also presents this class in a way that is empowering, which I love that. And she even starts with setting intentions for the class. In the class, you'll definitely get practice drawing, but you'll also get practice recording birds in other ways. So if you're trying to figure out how to combine birding with nature journaling and you want to take a class where you are going to get some pencil miles, but you'll also feel empowered at the end, Melinda's class will be good for that. If you want to really go into depth and specifics about birds or like really refined watercolor techniques for depicting birds, this isn't the class for you. This is a class to actually get some pencil miles in and learn how easy it can be to nature journal birds. The next class was supposed to be with Mike Rohde, but he had to cancel last minute. I still haven't found out why. Hopefully he's fine and everything. So you can see I crossed it off here. And John Muir Laws ended up teaching it instead. So I at first was just like, best substitute teacher ever. I think I wrote that on here, best substitute teacher ever. Luckily, John Muir Laws, Jack, has taught lots of composition and layout classes before. However, Kate Rutter pointed out that Mike Rohde has some very specific stuff about layout that would have been really helpful and unique and different from this material that Jack presented. But if you want to practice composition and get like the real basics and you like taking classes with Jack, then don't miss this video. It's going to be called, I mean, it might still be called Mike Rohde. It's going to be called Page Layout, probably with John Muir Laws, but a good class. Layout, I think, is really important. It's probably, layout and composition is probably the smallest thing you can do that will have the biggest impact on how good your pages look. And I know how good your pages look isn't everything, but really important, and how good your pages look, but also how they communicate. So composition and layout, I'm a big fan. And this class with John Muir Laws will give you some good starting points. There's another class about composition and layout that I'll tell you about in a second. Oh, yay, Lindsay's here, Rebecca's here, and Leslie's here. I saw Leslie yesterday or last night in Pencil Miles and Chill, and Rebecca and Lindsay I saw not too long ago. It's so cool that we have so much community in the Nature Journal Club since Wild Wonder. So then after that was the talk with Rosemary Moscow. So Rosemary Moscow is an amazing comic artist and has a book called Birding is My Favorite Video Game. And she talked a lot about humor. So if you want to go to a talk with a comic artist, Rosemary Moscow, who's very funny, and see in her presentation, she shows a lot of her work. And she also talks about making comics. If you like talks and you want to listen to that, you could probably listen to that while you eat dinner. Very inspiring and funny too. So if you want to get the humor in, I recommend that one. It's not going to be something where you're going to be drawing a lot during the class unless you're sketchnoting. Okay, and then that's it for day one. Hi, Cindy. Cindy's here. So this is for people who are trying to decide, maybe you need a summary of which videos you're going to watch of the recorded ones. This is day two. It started off with creating science comics for nature observation with Karen Romano Young. This was probably the best, one of the best profile sketches that I did, but really interesting class if you also want to learn about applied nature journaling. So she's in the field of communication and science communication. She's doing some amazing work. If you want to go to an inspiring class and see how nature journaling and sketchnoting and science comics and things like these can be turned into a career, I highly recommend hers. I also found it an empowering class because you can see I did a lot of sketchnoting during it. I found it as an empowering class because she uses humor, and then she also makes it, she also really downplays her level of artistic skill and scientific knowledge when she got into this work. So what she is showing us is that you don't need to be a really skilled artist to be able to depict information and use drawing to learn. So really inspiring in that way. And I filled quite a few pages. Oh, she does have some drawing exercises, and she reads poetry during the drawing exercises. So it's almost like a combination of a keynote talk combined with some drawing exercises. So you will get some drawing in during Karen Romano Young's thing. Oh, hi, Terry and Cindy. Welcome. And then the next class after that was Max Romney. And this class was called How to Capture Landscape. So some people I think were a little bit confused. I didn't realize it at first because I was just flowing along with what we were doing, but we were drawing these ptarmigans, and we were basically imitating a painting that he had done before. So the class was a little bit weird in that way, like it might not have met people's expectations. So there ended up not being any landscape painting classes or landscape Ito classes during this Wild Wonder. Yeah, there weren't any at all, which would have been nice because for a lot of people, myself included, that's a really important part of nature journaling. Max Romney does do a lot of landscape paintings, and I highly recommend checking out his work. He's doing amazing stuff, and he makes really great videos. He uses art toolkit supplies, which I've reviewed before. I tried to get him on an interview, but he's about to have a baby and is really busy, so I decided not to bother him. He lives in Alaska, and he paints in the snow and stuff like that. So you'll see some videos of his field work if you take this class. But the main thing you're going to be doing is drawing a ton of little, and I didn't even get around to the coloring part, even though most of these are white. He's working on some interesting climate change stuff, and he paints with vodka and other alcohol so it doesn't freeze. So if you're interested in Alaska for whatever reason, or you want to draw a bunch of ptarmigans and listen to him because he's a really interesting character, then I recommend it. But don't go into the class expecting to paint a landscape, just to be clear there. And I love Max Romney's stuff and all of that. Okay, and then the next class was this pastel class with Debbie Caspari. I love her artwork, and I actually copied her artwork for a full day earlier this month as one of the nature journaling challenges. But I didn't have the materials. I didn't want to buy pastels. I don't want to start doing pastels, even though the effects she created are beautiful. So I highly recommend taking this class if, one, you're interested in experimenting with dry pastels and you already have them already, or if you want to just really, if you're the kind of person that needs an excuse for buying more art supplies, then I suggest taking this class as well and getting the things before the class. Otherwise, like what I did is I just sketchnoted basically. And I also tried to see if I could do her style with other materials. I didn't end up finishing, but if you have all the materials, you'll do, basically she'll walk you through a pastel painting and she works really quickly. So that's kind of inspiring too. The other thing that was really interesting for me is she shared an drawing exercise she does. And this was very illuminating to me because it helped me understand her style that I had been trying to copy before. Next class was Kate Rutter's sketchnoting. This class is really great if you like the intellectual classes, which I love. She does all of this work to conceptually define nature journaling and sketchnoting and what are the differences and similarities between the two. I thought that was really interesting. And sketchnoting is probably the one single skill that can help you get the most out of a conference like this. So sketchnoting applies to a lot of things besides nature, and there were also a lot of practices in this. So you will get pencil miles. You will get pencil miles in this class. You'll get what I thought was an entertaining lecture. So really well organized and put together, someone who put time into it. And also you're going to get some pencil miles and some of this conceptual stuff that I think is really interesting and some really good quotes. I wrote down quite a few quotes from that class. Let's see. I think that's it. And then it was my class. I think my class is fine for beginners. It's not the best class that I ever taught. It's nature journaling for beginners. What is it called? Just getting started with nature journaling. I'm very interested in how to teach nature journaling to beginners. My class was, I've sort of lost track of time, but you will get some practice doing, I Notice, I Wonder, it reminds me of, which I think is the most powerful nature journaling tool. And that's really the main focus, and also on some of the mental obstacles that can be the biggest impediments to improving your nature journaling. So my whole goal with my class was to design a class that would help empower people to continue learning once they leave my class. So starting you off with some basic tools, if you don't know, I Notice, I Wonder, it reminds me of, we practice it in the class, practice asking questions. So that's the summary of my class. And then after that was the next keynote. So the next keynote was Julie Zickefoos. And this was a really interesting class if you're interested in birds and baby birds in particular. She also sprinkles it with a lot of motivational stuff about how to choose, what you want to do with your life and your passion. Well put together talk with lots of imagery and even videos of all of these baby birds. So if you like baby birds, don't miss this talk. If you're into birding, don't miss this talk. And I think if you're in Ohio, don't miss this talk. She's in Ohio. If you already know about Julie Zickefoos and like her, then you'll like that talk as well. Wow, there's a ton of comments going on that I lost track of. This sounds awesome. Thanks for sharing this. I bet that would be really, really cool. And he does some really great videos as well. Lindsay's pointing out that there was a lot of hands-on stuff in Kate Rutter's class. And here's another link for Max Romney's content. Thank you for sharing all of those. Okay, and then the next thing was, this is the morning poem. I think you can see the morning poems. The next thing was Jack's water class. So if you want to practice water, there's a lot of opportunity to practice in this class. And if you like taking classes with Jack, then definitely take it. What else? If you want to practice water, also definitely take it, because it's really challenging. As he points out, it's clear, it moves, and it reflects. So very challenging. I got a lot of pencil miles in, as you can see, during that class. Some people, the class title was Waterfalls, Rivers, and Lakes, Oh My. And if you've ever taken classes with Jack, sometimes he goes over time, and we ended up, the waterfall part got squeezed in at the very end, and then he ended up teaching a waterfall painting class in a later Pencil Miles and Chill. So just be aware, and also just be a nice person. If you take a class and maybe the content doesn't totally match the name, don't just give a ton. Don't just go on some internet rant about it. These people put a lot of time into preparing these classes, and the timing is hard. There's a lot of challenges being a teacher. After Jack's water class was Bill Singleton's gouache class. So you've probably seen Bill Singleton online. He teaches on Skillshare. He's on the Facebook Nature Journal Club. He's on Instagram, a bunch of places, and does a lot of really interesting artwork with gouache. And I'm very interested in it. I didn't have the materials, but I sketchnoted and tried to do what I could with the watercolors I have. I have a lot of questions still, and I've tried some of these gouache techniques that he teaches, but what would probably be good would be to actually have all of the materials that he recommends and go take that class. Be aware there were some technical difficulties during his class, so once again, just try to be patient. He used videos a lot, and so sometimes the videos are freezing. So just be prepared for that if you take this class afterwards. And get the materials in advance. And you can also find more of his content in other places. But if you want to get good at gouache, gouache landscapes, gouache plants, things like that, then this is the class for sure that you should take. Okay, next class is also more on the sort of investigative nature journaling side. So this was cross sections with Mark Simmons. So some top reasons for taking this class is that Mark Simmons is an amazing teacher, and he's super fun and funny. If you like that kind of teacher, or if you've been to his classes before, then obviously don't miss this class. The other thing is he's a really great visual thinker. He's a comic artist and art teacher. And so this idea of cross sections, he goes into it in a way that's going to help your artwork and help you draw more three-dimensional stuff. It's really fun and funny, and the class will probably go by pretty quickly. You should have some vegetables or fruit or something that you can dissect while you're in the class. A very enjoyable class as usual with Mark, and it applies to other things besides cross sections. So a lot of value in that class, coming at it from a couple different conceptual directions, and you'll definitely get pencil miles in and big entertainment factor in that class. Okay, this is cool. This is the next class, is something that I don't have experience in this department, so it's really cool to see Roseanne. Roseanne talks about natural pigments and how to make your own paint and ink. So this class is mostly going to be, it's going to be about the process that she uses. So if you're a really crafty person, if you like taking classes with Roseanne and have taken classes with her before, those are all good reasons to do this. Another reason would be if you like self-sufficiency and stuff like that, and elaborating on all of your art processes as much as possible, and you want to get into digging up minerals to use for your ink and paint, then take this class. It's really good for that. Could be good for people also who like minerals already and want to incorporate that more into their nature journaling. So that was that one. Oh, Suzanne's here. Hi, Suzanne. Some people here have probably taken a lot of these classes already. And for people who haven't, hopefully this will help you decide on the videos and stuff like that. This was a great class. I think this is the style of class I might want to teach next year. And it would be fun if there were more of these, but this was a virtual field trip with Matthias to Papua New Guinea. So reasons for taking this class, as you can see, I got a lot of drawing and nature journaling. It was basically like nature journaling, but from a video. So if you want to get pencil miles in and you want to do something that feels like you're just out nature journaling in the field, that's what this is like. He organized the whole thing in a way so it feels like you're on a nature journaling trip with him in Papua New Guinea. If you're interested in Papua New Guinea in particular, or Oceania, then that would be another reason to take this class. And then the last reason would be, to get pencil miles in, practice drawing things. And if you've taken classes before with Matthias, or you want to learn more about Matthias and his style, those would all be good reasons. Okay, and then the keynote for that day was with Mike Daikubara. You might have seen, I interviewed him on the Nature Journal show shortly before the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference. And he's an urban sketcher and had a lot of stuff to say. I think he was a little bit nervous doing the keynote, but a great guy. And I think his approach is really a big unlock for a lot of people. He just tries to sketch every day, and he's been sketching every day. I think for like over 10 years. He draws food a lot, and he has some good tricks for quick sketching. And he talks about some of his main principles. He sketches food a lot. Anyways, I think it was a really good talk. If you're interested in urban sketching, just sort of sketching in general, or you're trying to get over procrastination, or you're interested in Mike Daikubara in particular, those would all be good reasons to go to this talk. You're not going to get a bunch of sketch miles in or hands-on stuff in this talk. It is a keynote. The keynotes are usually more listening. But if you sketchnote, you'd be at a sketchnote along during the thing. Actually, you know what? I think he does do a short demo. So if you like a follow-along demo with hummingbirds, then you'll get a chance to do that in here and see his process. But mostly it's probably a listening one. So that's Mike Daikubara. You can also see the interview that I did with him and get sort of a feeling for his style. For whatever reason, my drawing of him down here came out looking a little bit too much like Akshay, who is the next teacher. So in the morning, I think the morning poems will be available in the video version, but Jack mentioned this curve of forgetting, which is really interesting and is one reason to reflect on your nature journal pages afterwards. But the first class of the day was Akshay's on boxy critters. And this class was very entertaining. You could tell he put a ton of work into organizing it and making it follow like a narrative flow. So if you like an entertaining class, this class is going to be good for that reason. Other reasons it's going to be good is if you like Akshay's nature journaling style, it'll be good. If you want to learn more about him, and if you also want to get into some conceptual stuff that I think is really important for nature journaling, and you like those kind of conceptual things, those are other good reasons to take this class. Another good reason to take this class would be if you are interested in trying to, get over the fear of drawing and just capture information on the page. He created a whole system for that, and he has printouts. Make sure you check the materials before you take the class. He has printouts that you can use, and they're basically like they are templates for figuring out the patterns of animals and capturing that information in a quick way. So I think this class is really good for entertainment value. He put it together in such an exciting way. There's even a dance break. And then also from the conceptual end of nature journaling. If all you want to do is, paint photorealistic portraits of gazelles, then this isn't the class for you. But it was so much fun. And I'm biased because I'm Akshay's friend. But I think he put a lot of work into the class, and it was very story-like and narrative and entertaining. And then he provided a lot of materials that you can use as well. I think the most important thing, though, is there was a lot of questions about how to use his templates and stuff like that. The note I wrote here that I think is really important is don't copy his boxy critters, copy the thinking that led to them. So he describes how he came up with this idea of boxy critters. And the narrative arc of his presentation is about that. So I highly recommend trying to understand that part and see how you can use that in your own nature journaling. Oh, yay, Mark Simmons is here. Great, Mark. Well, I'm going to try to review all of them. So this is your Cliff Notes version, cheater version. Okay, so next class was with Kristen Muser. Kristen Muser has been teaching nature journaling for a long time and was mentored by Jack originally, but she's been doing classes for quite a while. So she did a class where she put together basically a whole follow along thing for nature journaling monarch butterflies. She talks about and has photos of the entire process. And she also gave us this printout for a 3-dimensional model that helps you draw 3-dimensional monarchs or monarchs with foreshortening there. So I highly recommend taking this class with her. If you can get pencil miles in, but one thing I should point out is that this class is if you want to create a finished page. So she basically guides you step by step through creating a finished page focused on monarchs. So if that's what you want to do, then this is a great class. Other reasons for taking this class is that Kristen Muser might be someone you've been interested in for a while. She teaches classes outside of this online and in person. So this is a good opportunity to learn about her style. And if you are really interested in monarch butterflies, that'd be another good reason to finish the class. I didn't end up finishing my sketches and coloring in because I have some attention issues when it's a class where you just follow along the same steps. And I was also getting a little bit tired at that point. But you will definitely, if you want to get a complete page done, this would be a good one for that. And then this class is another one that I would consider, the term I want to use is like a master class. So this class is about watercolor. It's not going to go that much into the science. I mean, at the beginning, she talks about nanostructures and the science of iridescence, but this is the iridescence class with Catherine Hamilton. This is a great class if you want to deepen your understanding of watercolor. So maybe if you want to expand your watercolor, sort of like for people like Mark and myself, who maybe just sort of fill in watercolor into our drawings and sketches in our nature journal, this class would be like to learn how to do the fine art type of watercolor. She does a ton of mixing and she's a real devotee of watercolor. She also knows a lot about birds. So if you want to play around with color a lot and learn about the challenges of painting iridescence, then this is a good class for you. You'll definitely get pencil miles in, or at least color miles in, and learn a lot. But be prepared, because this is, like I said, it's a master class. This is an advanced class. So if you go to this and you've never done watercolor before, or you have a brand new set you've never played with, it might be sort of frustrating. Because it's really advanced class. I would call it a master class. Like I said, I would take this class over multiple times. This is the kind of class that on another platform would cost a lot of money, in my opinion. She said some really funny stuff that you'll have to watch the class to see, but appreciate the class, and very advanced class for art techniques. So not necessarily teaching you thinking techniques or observation techniques, just color techniques. She doesn't talk about the drawing techniques either. Awesome. Okay, next class was with Timothy Joe. So this is your other opportunity to do a gouache class. So his style is a little bit different than Bill Singleton's gouache style. So reasons for taking this class are you want to practice gouache, you like Timothy Joe, you like his teaching style, or you like his art style. Those are all reasons for taking this class. This one is called Hummingbird in Your Journal. He doesn't talk a ton about like hummingbird natural history or anything like that. So if that's what you're going for, just know. He talks about his methodology. I got all of his steps right here, and I didn't use the exact materials that he did, but this is another great class if you want to basically do a follow along painting. So similar to the one with Kristen Muser, you'll end up with a finished product. And a lot of people's have been posted on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page. So if you like the look of that, you want a finished product, and you want to learn how to use gouache a little bit better, or you like taking classes with Timothy Joe, then those are all great reasons to take this class. I've done interviews with him before where he talks about his method, and we talk about his background and stuff like that a little bit more. So you can check those out, but those are all reasons for taking his class. If you don't want to use gouache, it might not be the best class for you. Next class, and this one you'll definitely get pencil miles in, as you can see, is with Beth Ann. And this one's just called Using Simple Lines to Capture Our World. The main point of this class is to get pencil miles. So this was a real refresher for me, because she starts off with a real focus on not on outcome, but on process and just getting marks on the paper. So if you want to warm up your hand, or you don't have that much mental capacity for listening to some really high tech watercolor stuff, then this is a good class. You'll just get a lot of drawing in. I experimented with a couple different drawing tools, and you can see I really enjoyed it. She chose really fun things to draw also. So this is a really good class. If you like her teaching technique, as some people have said, her voice is very relaxing. So if you want to take a class, she has a podcast too about nature journaling, which is awesome. If you want to take a class and do a class where there's a lot of drawing involved and you're going to get warmed up and liberated and listen to Beth Ann's calming voice and Australian accent, then those are all good reasons to take this class. Okay, and then that night, Wendy Mcnaughton was probably the speaker that I knew the least about. She had a viral drawing thing on Instagram during the pandemic where kids would show up and draw together. It's called Draw Together, and they had, from one day to the next, she had like 12,000 people start coming to this. And so this is a classic keynote, and it's in conversation with John Muir Laws. So this was actually replacing what would have been the lady that talks about doodling was going to give the keynote that night. So this class is good. If you want to listen to a talk between her and John Muir Laws, there's a lot about joy, humor, learning, the role of drawing, and some of the interesting ways that she's using drawing. So it's an interesting talk. It is sort of on the sort of emotional and conceptual end. You're not going to get pencil miles in this class. So this might be the kind of thing you could listen to while you're cooking dinner or whatever. Wendy Mac is a pretty big shot. So it's cool to have her at the Nature Journaling Conference. And Jack's there too. There's a lot of joking in this one. And so it's good if you want that, if that kind of thing is your style. Okay, and then the last day, the first class is with Vitor Velez. This is another one that I would call a master class. So it's very focused on artistic technique. It's focused on composition. So there was basically two classes that covered that in this conference. The one with John Muir Laws, that was going to be by Mike Rohde, and then this one with Vitor Velez. Vitor Velez got introduced by the nature journaling community because of me, pretty much. I interviewed him after I found him online. I'm sure a bunch of you also followed him on Instagram as well. Really cool art, and a very interesting way that he combines text with images, which is what I interviewed him about like 2 years ago. He taught last year at the Nature Journaling Conference and this year, and this time is all about composition. He puts a ton of thought into it, and he is a masterful artist with thousands and thousands of hours of practice drawing. So if you want to take a class to learn about some high-level conceptual stuff about composition that can affect the way your nature journal pages look, and also any other art, and just to be able to think about composition, then this is a great class. And it is like master class level. Like, you might have to pause at certain times. You can't be washing the dishes while you take this class. You might need to work things out on paper and pause. Also, just one caveat, I think some people were made some comments during the conference that they had trouble understanding people's accents. So I think it's really important as an English speaker, especially if you're a native English speaker, to realize that English is a lingua franca that is spoken all around the world. And there's actually more people that speak it as a second, third, and fourth language than that speak it as their first language. So if English is your first language and you have trouble understanding accents, part of the onus is on you to develop your capacity for understanding international accents, because English is an international language. It doesn't belong to English native speakers. So rant aside, if you watch Vitor Velez's class, Vitor speaks multiple languages, including Portuguese and Polish. So if you can speak either of those ones better than he can speak English, then maybe you can complain. But just be careful. Just be aware you might have to listen a little bit slower and just pause every once in a while. Also, conceptually, this is very high level stuff. This is a master class on composition. And like I said, composition is probably the single one thing that can make your pages look better, but also read better. He talks so much about how eyes move across the paper. And some of this was just blowing my mind. I would definitely take this class multiple times over. Very, very in-depth. I took quite copious notes during the class. Some people also were, a little bit negative or complained that he didn't go very in depth into his particular style and how he uses text in his artwork. His artwork is amazing. Look him up under the Headless Sketcher on Instagram, and you will see his artwork. He doesn't go into his style and how he does those pages very much. So some people complained about that. You can find out more about that in the interview that I did with him. If you just look up nature journaling style with Vitor Velez, or if you just look up nature journaling style, you should find it. These are more pages I did. I learned a ton during that class. And if you really want to get into the conceptual side, and this is high-end art, check that class out. Okay, next class was with Laura Call-Gostinger, and I wanted to get her on the Nature Journal show a while ago and hope to in the future. She does perpetual journals. So reasons for taking this class are if you want to learn how to do a perpetual journal, which is basically when you have a 2-page spread for every week of the year, and you do multiple years, you keep it for multiple years, and each week you do a drawing or entry on that 2-page spread, and it turns into this like really cool thing that has each 2-page spread has multiple years, same time of year. So this class is good if you want to do that. Number one, that's basically what she's going to walk you through. So if you're not planning on doing that, that might throw you off a little bit. Other reason for taking her class is that you might like her style. She does very detailed botanical drawings. You might like her style. You might like her classes. She has a really big Patreon and following online. So any of those would be good reasons. And if you want to do a perpetual journal, the thing I'm most interested in is seeing how the perpetual journal could be combined with citizen science, for example, and perhaps document climate change and things like that. So those are all reasons to take her class. Next, I have to skip over Pencil Miles and Chill because if you watch the recorded version, you don't get to go to any of those. Next class was Creative Connections with Jean Mckay. So Jean Mckay is, she said she has been nature journaling for 25 years, which puts her in sort of the OG status of nature journaling. There's not that many people that, I don't know if that was even really used as a term back then, but she's been doing it for a long time. This class is going to be good if you like her style. She has a big following online. A lot of people like her style of nature journaling. If you like her style, if you like her teaching, and if you want to do this is another opportunity to do a follow along nature journal entry, basically, or like a painting of some really colorful algae. And she talks about her writing as well. So main reasons for taking that class is if you want to, practice some watercolor and you want to draw some really cool macro algae with Jean Mckay and learn sort of about her style and fill a page. This is another one you're going to get you should get a pretty page at the end if you follow the instructions. Those are all good reasons for doing that one. Okay, next, I think this is the last or second to last keynote. Is a conversation. This one's not really a class, in my opinion. It's sort of a conversation between Amy Tan and Fiona Galogly. So, Amy Tan is our most famous nature journaler. So it's really awesome that she got into nature journaling. And she's really into birding too. So this is a cool class if you want to listen to Amy Tan talk. That's pretty cool. Fiona also is a pretty famous nature journaler who started off pretty young, like 13, and filled tons of pages and asked tons of questions and really good birder. So reasons for taking this talk: you like Amy Tan, you like Fiona, you're interested in birds. And you're interested in birds at feeders and sort of developing there was a lot of sort of like critical anthropomorphizing that happened in this conversation. So if you're interested in learning about like individual birds in your backyard and nature journaling them and sort of hearing the story of how that happens, this is a really good conversation. You could listen to this while you're washing the dishes or driving the car. You don't need to see, there's some slides, but they're not totally essential. Okay, next class, and this is very specific art technique. So this one is good. This is Mary Jo Koch, and it is The Eyes Have It. So it's all about drawing eyes. You don't really need too much besides watercolor for this one. A little bit of gouache would be helpful. If you want to get better at drawing eyes, if you follow the instructions in this class, your eyeballs that you draw will pop. I did these really quickly, and sometimes they are, I mean, I did them quickly because I was having some attention issues during the class. And I think it was, you know, I was doing back-to-back classes. But if you follow every step, you're going to have some eyes that are popping off the page. And I think that was really powerful for a lot of people. You've probably seen tons of posts of people's eyeballs. I mean, of eyeballs that people painted on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page because they took this class with her. So reasons for taking this class, you want to get a sense of empowerment around doing eyeballs, and you like eyeballs already, or you like taking classes with her. She's in the Santa Cruz Mountains, south of San Francisco, and she teaches classes online. I don't think she has as huge of a following, but she is a naturalist a well-known naturalist painter, supposedly. So take her class if you want to get better at that specific detail and end up with you will get pencil miles and practice in on that one. Okay, so then the very last keynote was I hardly even filled anything because I had to during the very last keynote I actually had to administer the YouTube live because John Muir Laws basically went live. He gave like an inspiring speech as usual, and he announced the Wild Wonder Foundation, which is an awesome foundation that's going to do a bunch of things for nature journaling and help spread nature journaling around the world and all that stuff. So that is every single class. I filled it in it looks like this took 40 minutes to do, but that's quite a few classes. So hopefully you can, use the little thing here at the bottom of the screen to skip around and try to find when I talk about each class. Hopefully this will help you decide, or if you don't have the time to go back into all the classes or whatever, that you can watch this and get an idea, sort of the Cliff Notes cheater version on each of the classes and all of the talks. Also, for people who are doing the video one, you could watch this video and decide, should I buy the video pass or not? So this could be helpful for people like that. Thanks to everyone who joined in during the live. A lot of people actually showed up who were probably at a lot of the classes too, such as Ivea, Lindsay, Rebecca, and Mark Simmons was here for a while. So cool to see some of the instructors. Suzanne, there was someone on Facebook who was sharing, but I can't tell their name. And Cindy, whole bunch of people joined in for the live. Thank you so much. And this might be the last live for a while because I'm going back into the Amazon rainforest, but hopefully I'll schedule some YouTube videos coming up and have some new videos when I get back I'm hopefully going to be nature journaling harpy eagles on their nests, as well as these endangered Andean eagles, which are critically endangered. I'm going to try to figure out some ways to combine nature journaling with bird conservation in the Ecuadorian Amazon. So I'll keep you all posted as soon as I have internet connection. All right, bye everybody. Keep nature journaling.